Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome to today's message again on this Choosing Love Over Fear challenge. We're up to day 32, and today I want to share this particular topic is something that I have been diving really deep into, and so I'm really excited to share this one with you guys. And as you are tuning in, I would really love if you can think about, so that this can be really valuable in your own life right now, think about where you might have a bit of a setback, where you might feel as though you've got any sort of inner conflicts. Maybe if you are finding yourself starting things, maybe getting inspired by things, and then maybe feeling as though there's maybe another part within you that just kind of sabotages your success, and you're just kind of feeling at odds with these different pulls and tugs, right? Like when you can have that inner conflict within you that seems as though, you know, it just won't cut you a break, right? Like there's that part of you that wants to strive and move ahead and get inspired and go for things that you really want. And then maybe there's this other part that gets in the way and kind of feels as though it's taking you in the opposite direction or throwing you off the wagon, and you're not really kind of sure as to how to treat that part or how to resolve that inner conflict within you. Today and probably tomorrow, I am going to talk into a little bit of what's called parts work, which I have been finding incredibly important in my own personal development and personal transformation and journey. And so I'm hoping that me using myself as a bit of a guinea pig as per usual, and sharing with you guys some of my journey with using different tools and strategies will help you to kind of just increase your own tool belt and become your own human guinea pig of all things personal development in your world, so that you can get about living the life that you are absolutely most inspired to be living. And so I definitely want to dive into this one with you guys. Before I do, quick hello to Elfin, Adrian and Bill. Awesome to see you guys back. Always appreciate seeing you guys and having you join live and tuning in for these messages. And as per usual, I'd love to hear from you guys, so please do drop some comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Say hi, any words of wisdom, any questions, whatever you think is relevant to today's topic, or our personal development and our growth and our community in general. All of us limitless potential seekers, then it's all welcome here. All right, so today's topic is dealing with setbacks using self-leadership. Now, I want to just share my journey at the moment. So I think I shared with you guys, I started an 8-week challenge on Monday. I'm doing a lot of challenges by the sounds of it at the moment, right? We're on day 32 of a Choosing Love Over Fear challenge, and it's connected to a bit more of a spiritual practice that I'm doing in the background. But this week came another challenge that I set myself, where it's basically to do with health and fitness. With my gym, they're starting an 8-week challenge, which is just really dialing it in with being consistent with your training, with your nutrition. I'm doing some recovery things, so a lot of the physical elements, but I've incorporated a lot more of my creativity, and showing up for you guys and working with my clients, and I kind of encapsulated a bunch of different things into the one challenge to set that container. I don't have it next to me right now, but I even created like a whole limitless potential planner for myself with this, so that, you know, over this 8 weeks, I laid it all out, what training I'm doing, how I'm working out my nutrition, based on the fasting cycle by Dr. Mindy Pelz. For all of you women out there, I really encourage you to check out her work. Fast Like a Girl is an amazing book, and will give you so much empowerment in your own physical well-being and health. It's we should have been taught this stuff at schools, but we weren't. So that's just a quick side note for you women out there who want to take your health to another level. But yeah, anyway, I wrote out this whole 8-week journey with what I'm doing creatively, what I'm doing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the realms. And basically, first week in, I injured my back. Like my back just, had to miss a day of my training schedule yesterday just through tightness, and just I went instead and I had a massage. I feel very grateful and lucky that I've got that ability to go and do that, and I've got a great masseuse nearby, and I just took that time to recover. But why I'm sharing that is it kind of threw me off page because I wasn't able to do my my kind of more spiritual practices. They engaged the body, and I really just needed to recover. And basically my past self, when I would have set these sort of goals for myself, they needed to be perfect. It was all about perfection over progress, right? And any little kind of shift to whatever's not the best it can be used to throw me off quite a lot, right? And I'd have different parts within me that would just want to give up, right? Just want to wipe the slate clean, start again, I guess, and feel disappointed that it wasn't perfect and it wasn't my ideal, and all the rest of it. And that would totally derail me off my goals and what was important to me. And I'd kind of fall in a heap and I'd have to pick up the pieces. I don't know if you guys can relate to that in your own journeys at all. Like when we have a setback, how do we deal with it, right? What I would do in the past, how I led myself, was probably through more criticism, right? Like, oh, now I feel disappointed in myself. I didn't follow through. I should have pushed this. I should have done this, whatever it was, right? And all that did to those other parts within me was just kind of victimize them, right? So I'd victimize myself in a way and be hypercritical to the point where I just fall off the wagon and eventually have to pick my pieces back up, and which takes a lot of energy to start and stop and start and stop. And if you don't follow through on things, if you've noticed this in your own life, following through, being consistent is how you develop trust within your own system. No matter what the circumstances, no matter what obstacles come your way, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's just about that making the effort, staying consistent, showing up at whatever capacity you've got in your life right at that moment, right? And remember, we are seasons, we go through cycles. We can't expect ourselves to be on at this level of perfection all the time, right? But my past self would expect myself to be that way, and that led to a very all or nothing approach to my life, which, look, it still can come into play. I'm a human being, and I do believe, just like I was talking with you guys about yesterday, it's not about all or nothing. It's not like you solve something and you're out of it. There are themes in our lives that we continue to spiral up in, right? We unravel the layers of, we grow and progress through, but there's always another layer and always a next vantage point to grow and resolve, past patterns. And so that can be one for me that can play out. And look, every pattern has its drawbacks and its benefits, right? It can give you great results to be, really striving for your best. And also there needs to be a level of compassion and flexibility so that you can stay consistent on the journey. And I mentioned at the beginning of this video, today's message is I'm probably gonna draw it out into tomorrow and go a little bit deeper in some of this parts work that I'm talking about, to give you a bit more clarity and really get some value from identifying that. But just to explain a little bit about this is that you are an individual made up of multiple levels of consciousness. And where all of our patterns and having those inner conflicts and tug of wars, or feeling as though we're sabotaging ourselves, or feeling like one part of me wants to do this but another part of me just wants to do this, right? And feeling as though we've got all of this going on. And in particular as well, if we have strategies where we get overwhelmed and we distract ourselves in certain ways. Maybe we have certain addictive behaviors that come into play. Or we have that part within us that might feel helpless and hopeless and whatever, right? And just feel like defeated. We have all of these parts going on in what's called our internal family system. There's a system out there called IFS, or Internal Family System, which is by Richard Schwartz. I really recommend checking out his books. He's incredible. And for those of us who want to be empowered self-leaders, his work is amazing, and I'm really diving deep into this. It's really that next thing that's really triggered my interest in my own personal development. And basically, what it really is, to give you a little overview, and I'll go deeper in tomorrow's work for those of you, day 33, I'll go deeper on this work with you guys for those of you who want to understand this and see how it applies to you. But basically, we have these different parts within us. Every single human being has them. We have basically our higher self, right? Our most aligned, centered self, right? Who is 100% capable of leading our own lives. But unfortunately, when, we've had these challenges in our lives that have been left unresolved, or lack of awareness, and maybe shadow parts within us that kind of got created from a place of pain or suffering or challenge in our history throughout our childhood and up till now, we developed these patterns and these parts that have become more like protectors in our lives. They're more so about managing ourselves so that we don't experience the pains of the past, right? So you might have had an experience where maybe you were humiliated in some way. Maybe, something happened in your life that created an experience of pain, and this part within you got developed that said, oh no, never again am I ever going to experience that. So you created this kind of strategy to protect that very hurt, vulnerable, wounded part within you that experienced that pain. That part we call an exile, right? A vulnerable part that kind of, just got, it's being protected by this manager or this protector kind of part that says, never again, I'm going to overdo this way of being so that I never have to experience that level of vulnerability. An example that can be very common for us is we expressed our emotion and it wasn't received well. Maybe, a lot of men can have the experience of boys don't cry, right? So they had an experience where, they were humiliated and not received well when they expressed an emotion or cried or whatever it was when they were young. And so a protective part, a managing part stepped forth and said, oh no, never again am I going to experience that humiliation. So I'm just not going to cry. I'm going to be somebody who has it all put together all the time, right? And so we create this kind of personality in a way where this part tries to manage and protect that exile, that vulnerable, wounded part, so that it never has to experience that again. But then moving through life, that can become a challenge, right? That very well-intentioned part that was trying to protect itself from ever feeling that level of pain again. Now that person might say that example of a man who, as a boy, stopped crying and said, never again am I ever going to go there. I'm going to close myself off. I'm going to just have it all together. Eventually getting into relationships and so forth, if that person can't open up emotionally, that's going to create a new level of pain, a different model of pain, right? And if left unchecked, that part is still running the show, right? That managing part, trying to protect that vulnerable part. But now it's built the walls to protect itself, but they're also imprisoning its heart, right? From being able to experience the depth of connection with another human being in a safe environment, right? With somebody who can receive and wants to receive that level of emotion and depth. Right? And so this is what we need to re-engage and become aware of these parts and these protective parts so that we can actually give them a different role, right? But most of us, and this myself included, what we would do is we'd try to change that part. We'd try to get rid of that part. And what happens is, and this has been scientifically proven time and time again through this work, is that we don't get rid of parts, right? They just can double down if we try to get rid of them, ignore them, avoid them, isolate them. That is not how we resolve these issues. And what most of us do is that's what we try to do. We try to lock away that part, get rid of the part, deny the part, whatever we're going to do, which only amplifies its control and hold in our lives and creates more of a destructive pattern. And so what I'm finding in my own life and what I've studied is that when we actually look at that part in a totally different way, from a compassionate, understanding place where we can actually see the great intentions of that protective part who is doing its best and has carried a really heavy burden throughout your life, when we can do our best to actually bring compassion, bring understanding, give that part a voice, and then help it by self-leading, right? Becoming the leader, unburdening that part, finding a new resourceful way to resolve that old underlying wound and fear of pain. That's actually how that part, now we give it a different role, right? Now it gets to grow up and allow us, our higher self, our most centered self, to become the leader so that we can resolve the past sabotaging behaviors, destructive behaviors, so that we can ultimately be free of that pain and destruction with actually honoring what that part has been here to solve and resolve for us. But now we can step in as the leaders of our own lives and actually be resourceful and be constructive in our lives. That's actually the right strategy that actually can create lasting and sustainable results. Now, not going too depth, I'll go deeper in this topic, as I said, tomorrow. And I'd love to hear from you guys if you're interested in this work. I might even do a masterclass on it because it's been really, really powerful in my own life. And I'd love to introduce you and give you the tools and some actions to be able to see these parts within yourself, right? But just to give you a quick overview of another part that's available there, firefighters. Now, firefighters are the ones that run in and just want to distract us, right, from the pain, the suffering. That's where our addictions come in. That's where, we have our avoidant patterns come in, where maybe we binge eat, maybe we go to drugs or alcohol, we're trying to numb out. That's where we go to Netflix and just binge a series and forget about life, right? So there are those firefighter parts there as well, and they're also here to protect and serve us. They've just got outdated strategies that if we want to self-lead, we actually need to become aware of and compassionately and understand those parts, honor them for their great intentions to really help and serve us, but also find more constructive ways to unburden those parts and actually lead ourselves constructively and give them a totally different role. They're usually the fun parts within us that are so burdened by all the avoidance of pain that they're exhausted, and really they just want us to have fun and enjoyment in our lives, but they're doing it in these destructive ways. And when left unchecked, that just perpetuates. And what we need to do is take back the ownership and self-lead with compassion and curiosity and understanding so that we can unburden these protective and firefighting kind of parts so that we can actually get organized in our lives and also have fun and enjoyment with a really conscious direction from this very centered place so that we can actually consciously create the life that we want on our terms without, like being tug of wars going on inside of ourselves and not really feeling like we're getting anywhere that we want to get to and feeling very overwhelmed and confused by the whole process. All right, so I'd really, really, really love to check in with you guys and see who's been able to join me today. But I hope just me sharing that little piece. And if you're interested, I'd love to bring more of that and dive into what those parts are a little bit more into tomorrow's live stream that I'll do. And if you're really interested, yeah, I'd be super excited to actually deliver a masterclass on this and give you the actionable workshop tools to be able to apply it and free yourself from maybe patterns that have been there your whole life, right? Like really protective, overly perfectionistic parts that just are so exhausting, like to live up to the expectations of, and also those other parts that we can run into where we've got these addictive behaviors that keep sabotaging our success and actually, you know, not resolving those underlying pains of the past, those exiled, vulnerable parts that really just need to have their story heard as well. There's lots going on, but for you to self-lead, you need to be aware of who you're leading. We all have those parts within us, and you need to understand who's in your internal family, right? In order to really consciously nurture those parts into an empowered place so that you've got a great team working for you rather than one that's moving in all different directions and non-intentionally working against you. All right, so let me check in. So I've got Elf and Adrian and Bill and George and Dean. Awesome to see all of you guys. And Bill, hi, I always say there's always plan B. What did I learn from this? Keep moving forward. Absolutely. You know, and that's what I'm doing this week with my injured back. I've really looked after it over this last day and it's starting to feel better. I'm just going to ease myself back in today. I'm just going to show up and I'm not going to overdo it, right, and recreate injuries, but I'm just going to show up to my level of capacity, and whatever that is absolutely that's perfect. Whatever it is today is the perfection, right, and is the progress, rather than expecting myself to be at my highest heights all day, every day, and then injuring myself and perpetuating the problem. So absolutely, Bill, wise words there. And Muhammad is here as well. Good to see you. And Elf, I love your comment here. All right. A very insightful reminder of a path well seen within myself, trying to be perfect in every way and excelling in all in ways possible to seek acceptance and recognition. Yeah, don't we all do that? As one gets older and awakens to the journey, one realizes that it becomes more of living and acceptance of all beings, that the only choice becomes simply being, simply accepting things as they are and finding peace in the presence of life itself. I love that. Much respect and love coming right back at you, my friend. And I so appreciate your share here. Such wise words, you know, and I really always appreciate you guys sharing your journeys here, because that is so true. You know, I love the title of one of Byron Katie's books, Loving What Is, right? Because there is such freedom, you know, in just realizing this moment is inevitable. Everything that exists is here right now. There's no arguing with it. You might as well accept it and even learn to love what is, right? That gives you such a freedom so that you can free up your energies and direct them to what is your higher self's choice, and what you want to do and how you want to be in this very moment in time, which is the only moment that exists, right? And there's such a freedom when we can just accept all that is. But it's very difficult to do that when we're not accepting all that is within ourselves. And that's why what I'm talking about today is such an inner pathway to do that. Because once you can understand what's underlying in your own system, and you build a healthy, loving, accepting relationship with compassion for all that makes you you within your own system, you automatically are able to do that within others and within your environment. And that is your ticket to freedom. But it always starts within. So I love what you're sharing there, Elf. Thank you so much for those beautiful words of wisdom. So appreciated. And Ghislaine, good to see you join. I'm just wrapping up today's message, so I hope you catch the recording. Get a ton of value from today's message. But just, you know, This message really dealing with setbacks and using self-leadership. But you have to know who you're leading, right? You have to understand what those parts are, what their intentions are, what they're trying to do, and help them to unburden themselves by becoming the leader and giving them a much better role for them that's totally more aligned and unburdens them from those different ways that they've been trying to protect you from the pains of the past that are just outdated. You know, best intentions, just outdated, creating destruction, and what you want is to live a constructive, centered life. All right, so thank you. Good to have you here, Ghislaine. So that's it from me. So much love coming to each and every one of you guys today. I hope this message has served you as I do each and every one of these messages that I'm delivering for you each day. And I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Much love.